Hello guys, welcome to the second video in this series where we will learn about king in the center. So guys, basis the opening principles, one of the things that we have learned is that you should develop your pieces early in the game, and also the second thing that is the most important is king safety, that is castling. However, if you do not castle and your king is in the center, a king in the center is known to be unsafe and vulnerable. So in today's video, we are going to learn how to attack the castle king. And if your opponent has not castled early and if his king is in the center, in this video, you will learn how to punish your opponent. So before we go to the first puzzle, let us remember the thumb rule. If your opponent's king is in the center and he has not castled, number one, try to not let him castle. And in order to do that, the main rule is to open up the position. So in this position, you can see that it is actually black to move. And okay, the correct move is to simply play a move like bishop e7, and it's fine for black. He is going to castle the next move, castle shot in the next move, and things are going to be equal. But in this game, my opponent played the move a6. Now guys, can you do pause the video and try to come up with the solution as to why is this a bad move? Number one, you can see is that the white king is castled and the king is safe. The black's king is in the center, and now in this position I captured the knight with a check, and after b takes c6, it is my move. I give the move rook to e1 check. Now if he goes bishop e7, knight f5 is already winning a piece. So over here black is completely lost. And also if you play a move like king d7, there is a beautiful checkmate guys. I would request you to pause the video and try to find the checkmate. Over here you play the move queen to g4 check. Now the king cannot go here because the queen controls the diagonal. So the king has to come to d6. Now you play the move knight to f5, which comes with a check. The king goes back to d7. And now you play the beautiful move knight to h6 check. The king only has these two squares, and now knight f7 comes with a beautiful checkmate. Our three pieces, the queen, the rook and the knight, no, the three pieces in the center managed to deliver a beautiful checkmate. And all this happened because of one small mistake in the opening, or you can say because my opponent did not know the opening principles, that you have to develop your pieces first and you have to castle for king safety. So guys, the rule of thumb, when the position when the king is in the center and your opponent has not castled, just open up the position. Over here bishop e7 and black was doing fine, but instead he played the move a6, and now because the king was in the center, white was able to take full control and he was able to capitalize because all the moves are forced, and after rook e1 check, this is already resignable. Moving on to the next position. In this position again, it is white to move, and you can see that white king is castled, the two rooks are connected. Now what is the minor problem in black's position? The king is in the center, and if white plays a move like, let's say, a normal move like h3 or something, black will simply castle, and okay, there's nothing much. So what does white do over here? The most logical move is to give a check from the e file, because the e file is completely open. There are multiple ways of giving check. The queen can give a check either by going on e1, e2 or e3. The rook on a1 can come to e1 by giving a check, but the best move in this position is by giving the move rook f to e1 check. And this is because if you get this rook over here, what happens is that the rook on the f file is guarded by its own pawn. And when you give a queen over here, both the rooks are still here. So it's better to get the rook from the f file, because your queen also has an open file, the rook also has an open file, and this rook can anyways jump in. And now over here after king f8, there are already many ideas for white. White can play a move like rook a2 d1, threatening a check over here. You can also play a move like queen to d7. The threat is simple. You are actually planning to play a move like queen e7 check, followed by, let's say for example, black plays a move like a6. The idea is to give a checkmate like this, sacrificing the queen and giving a mate. So that is why in this position it is important that you stop the black king from castling. For example, when you play a move like this, the king goes to f8. Now when you look at this position, you look at the black rooks. The rook on h8 is not doing anything. The rook on a8 is in the corner of the board. Both the rooks are not connected. The black king is unsafe in the center, and white is just completely dominating the game and is going to win very soon. Moving on to the next puzzle, guys. Now over here again it is white to move, and it is important to prevent the black king from castling. Your king is safe on g1, the black king is on e8. Now the question is that how do you prevent the king from castling? For example, if you play a move like rook d1, then black can simply play a move like, let's say, e5. And now what's going to happen is that black is going to just develop his knight castle, and white will not be able to press much. So instead, in this position, if you found the move e5, then kudos to you, because now what you do is when you push the pawn on e5, what happens is the knight over here is now going to jump to e4. You push the pawn to vacate this square for the knight. Now let's say after a move like queen d8 or something, now what's going to happen is you play the move knight e4. Now the idea is very simple. Let's say the black knight plays e7. Now what you do is you play the move knight d6 check, and now the king is forced to go to f8. And what you have done is that you prevented this king from castling, because what you managed to do was after this check you made the king move to the square f8. Now this king can never castle, and white is already much better because now the king is in the center. You can actually play a move like knight g5. You're going to win some material, and you're just going to blast open black side and you're going to win the game. So since the king was in the center, what you did was you again just opened up the position. You got your piece activity, guys. Activity is the most important. You can go and give up some material, but as long as you are active and you are able to not let the king castle and keep it in the center, you are going to just crush your opponent. Moving on to the next puzzle, guys. Over here again it is white to move, and do try to pause the video and come up with the solution. If you saw moves like knight to f5, saying that okay, you know what, I'll get my knight to f5, I'll put some pressure over here, or you thought of some moves like, let's say, let me go bishop to f4, putting some pressure on the d6 square. These are all good moves. They're not bad moves in any way, but the move that wins instantly over here is the beautiful move pawn to e5. Now you cannot move the knight somewhere, because let's say if you move the knight, then this pawn hangs with a check. So the most logical move for black is to take the pawn, and now you take this pawn with check. And now let's say he plays the move bishop to e7. Now you have many ways to put pressure over here, and if you found the move knight f5, then it's a good move, but then this allows black to exchange the queens. So over here you actually have a very deadly move. You get the bishop to a3. You completely open up the position. This bishop is pinned, and there is no way how black can save this position. Black can still play a move like, let's say, knight to g8, which is of course not the best move, and that's maybe the only move, sorry. And now you play the move knight to f5, and you can see that how black is just completely busted, because now there is no way he's going to save this bishop that is pinned on e7. Material is going to fall, and white is just going to crush his opponent. So again, when your opponent's king is in the center, you have to go for activity. Knight f5, bishop f4, they are no doubt good moves. White is completely better, but what you do is you instead just open up the position. You give up the pawn. Okay, it's not giving up the pawn, but you open up the position, you open the rook file, the bishop's diagonal is going to open, and you are just going to crush your opponent. So I mean, after this we saw the lines that you play the move bishop a3, you put more pressure over here, and after knight g8, now you play the move knight to f5. And even if the queens are exchanged over here, now what's going to happen is that this bishop cannot be saved. You're going to win material, and you're going to win the game. Moving to the next position, it is black to move over here. Do try and come up with the move how you can win the position instantly. If you found the move d4, kudos, guys, this is a great move. I mean, white has to take this, because otherwise the bishop has no squares, and you're going to lose the bishop. So after the trade of pawns, and now if white thinks that he can play the move bishop to f4, well, he's wrong, because we have opened up the position. The e file is now open. So we played a beautiful move rook e8 check. There is only one move. Of course you don't play the queen here, because you just lose the queen. And after bishop e2, you play this move d3, taking advantage of this pin. winning material, and winning the game. So guys, again, in all the positions we are seeing that when your king is safe, because you have followed the opening principles, you know that in the opening you have to develop your pieces, you have to castle for king side safety, but your opponent doesn't know the opening principles. He has not castled, his king in the center is vulnerable. So what do? You just blast open the position, you launch an attack on the king which is in the center, and there is no way for your opponent to save this, and you're completely winning. Guys, coming to the final position for this video, it is white to move, and over here you can see that you have a good position. The first moves naturally that come to you is what you can get your rook to e1, get your rook to d1. But if you play a move like rook e1, what happens is black simply castles, and even if you get the other rook to d1, black is just able to castle. So over here, what do? You play the pawn to d5. You attack the bishop. Now, if the bishop comes to a4, you simply go b3 and this bishop is trapped. So the only move for black is to take this bishop. And now guys, you know what? You don't capture this pawn. Instead, you play the absolutely brilliant move bishop to c5, and the purpose for this is that you are actually stopping the black king from castling, and you have a very big threat coming in, that is rook to e1. Now let's say black can take your pawn on c4, or he can just push his pawn. Let's say he can play a move like d4, and now you play the move rook to e1 check. Now the king has no squares to go, so the only move is that you have to give up the queen. And instead of d4, if he plays some other move, for example, if he moves his queen to c8, still your idea is the same. You give a check, and after he goes king d7, this is a mate in one. So nothing is going to work out for black. If he plays the move rook to e8, still you can give this check, and after king d8 you have this beautiful move rook to e7, getting the rook on the 7th rank. And after a move like queen c8, you can actually just take this pawn. And guys, you can look at this position for yourself. Your pieces have entered the enemy camp. This rook on e8 is doing nothing. The queen on c8 is like is wanting some space, and black is completely busted, and you are just gonna crush your opponent. So guys, in this position, if you actually found the move d5 followed by bishop c5, sacrificing a pawn for activity, then kudos to you, because you are actually getting the hang of it, that you have to open up the position, you have to blast open the center, and you are completely better and winning. So guys, with this we come to an end of how to attack your opponent's king in the center, how to punish your opponent when he has not castled early and when his king is in the center. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel. And guys, we will be continuing the principles or the foundations on how to attack, and in the next video what we are going to come up with is something that all of you people love, and that is the favorite and one of the main things of attacking, which is sacrificing. And guys, when I say sacrificing, I mean sacrificing correctly. There are a lot of sacrifices that can actually lose you the game, so it is important to understand when to sacrifice and at what moment to sacrifice. So guys, in the next video we'll be coming up with sacrifice, and if you enjoyed this, thank you so much and stay tuned for the next one.